You sit down to answer one important email. Before you finish the first sentence, a message appears. You check it. Then another tab reminds you of something else. A few minutes later, you return to the email and have to reconstruct the thought you were already having. Nothing dramatic happened, yet something quiet has changed. Long before you notice that your focus is gone, your brain has begun carrying pieces of several unfinished moments at once. We often describe this as distraction. As if attention were a beam that simply wandered away, but modern life does something more subtle. It fragments attention. Your attention does not merely move from one thing to another. Each shift forces your brain to release one mental context and build another. What was I doing? What matters here? What information should remain active? What response is expected? These questions are usually answered below conscious awareness, but answering them still requires work. The brain must suppress one set of goals, retrieve another, and adjust its predictions to a different situation. An email becomes a conversation. The conversation becomes a calendar. The calendar becomes an unfinished task. Then, suddenly, you are back inside the email. Except your brain has not returned to exactly the same state. Part of the previous task may still be active. Researchers sometimes describe this as attention residue. When you leave something unfinished, especially something engaging, uncertain, or emotionally relevant, some of your attention remains attached to it. You may be reading one document while a small part of your mind continues rehearsing the message you just received. You may be listening to someone while remembering that another conversation still needs an answer. You may be resting while mentally monitoring everything that could interrupt the rest. Your attention may not be gone. It may be distributed. And that distinction matters. The human brain evolved to shift attention. A sudden sound, a change in someone's expression, or movement at the edge of vision could contain important information. Rapid reorientation was not a design flaw. It was protective. But most environments did not produce an endless sequence of signals specifically designed to request a response. Modern life does. Notifications arrive without regard for mental timing. Messages remain visibly unread. Tabs preserve dozens of possible intentions. Work conversations enter personal spaces. Personal concerns enter working hours. Even when nothing interrupts you, the possibility of interruption remains. And your brain is sensitive not only to events, but to uncertainty. A predictable signal can gradually become easier to ignore. An unpredictable one is harder. If a message might be irrelevant, useful, uncomfortable, or urgent, the brain has a reason to keep monitoring for it. This is one reason variable notifications are so difficult to dismiss. Not every alert matters, but because some do, the next one cannot be classified in advance. So part of your attention remains prepared to check. Counterintuitively, this does not always mean your brain has become incapable of focusing. It may mean its attention systems are working exactly as they were built to work, detecting change, tracking unfinished goals, and prioritizing uncertain information. The problem is the number of signals now competing to be treated as meaningful. Every switch creates a small transition cost. You stop reading to answer a message. The answer may take 10 seconds. But the interruption lasts longer than those 10 seconds because your brain must rebuild the mental model it was using before. Where was the argument going? Which detail mattered? What were you about to write? The interruption ends. The brain's response does not. One switch may feel trivial. Hundreds of them can change the texture of an entire day. You remain active. You respond quickly. You close small loops. Yet sustained thought begins to feel strangely inaccessible. This can create the experience of being busy without feeling mentally present. The day contains constant activity, but very little continuity. Continuity is also important for deeper cognition. It takes time for complicated ideas to settle. The brain has to keep information in working memory, relate it to prior knowledge, try possible interpretations, and gradually build up a coherent representation. When attention shifts repeatedly, that representation is interrupted before it fully develops. You can still process the surface, read the sentence, recognize the words, answer the question. But the slower connections underneath may never have enough uninterrupted time to form. This is why fragmented attention can affect more than productivity. It can alter perception and memory, decision-making, and even the feeling of having fully experienced something. Memory does not record life like a camera. It depends partly on what attention selects and how deeply information is encoded. If an experience is repeatedly divided by checking, switching, and monitoring, fewer stable details may be integrated into memory. The hour happened. But later, it can feel strangely thin. This fragmentation also changes what the brain begins to expect. If every quiet moment is followed by a new input, a new tab, or a quick check, stillness becomes associated with the anticipation of change. The brain begins preparing for the next shift before it arrives. You open a document and feel an impulse to check something. You watch a film and reach for your phone during a slow scene. You wait for an elevator and experience a few seconds of empty time as if something were missing. The discomfort is not necessarily boredom itself. It may be the prediction that another stimulus should already be available. Over time, long periods of concentration can then feel unusually effortful, not because the brain has lost the ability to sustain attention, but because sustained attention now requires resisting many learned expectations at once. The expectation of novelty. The expectation of response. The expectation that something elsewhere may be more urgent than whatever is here. Emotional signals intensify this effect. An ambiguous email, an unfinished decision, or a conversation that ended strangely can continue occupying mental resources long after the screen is closed. The brain gives priority to unresolved information because unresolved information may still require action. This is useful when one unfinished problem needs to be remembered. It becomes exhausting when dozens of them remain mentally available. Some are tasks. Some are messages. Some are choices. Some are merely possibilities. But the brain does not need all of them to be physically present in order to keep them active. A small cue can reactivate an entire context. One name. One icon. One remembered sentence. And attention divides again. This is why removing a single notification does not always produce immediate calm. The external interruption may be gone while its internal representation remains. Modern life fragments attention not only by constantly taking it away but also by giving it too many places to return to. So when you reach the end of a day and cannot identify what exhausted you, the answer may not be any single task. It may be the repeated reconstruction of your mind. Again. And again. And again. Until even a quiet moment contains the faint mental presence of everything that is not happening there. If you enjoy science that's fast, visual, and straight to the point, subscribe. BioSnap-Science That Clicks is just getting started.